Hey y'all, back to my regularly scheduled programming. This is my review for The Real Housewives of New Jersey, episode 12. After this is the season finale. Let's get into it. So we start with the montage, and what I got from it is Danielle's kids are bad. Joe is having a guys' night. And then we have a scene with Rachel, and we just get an update on her daughter and the tongue-tied situation. Cute scene, but yeah, fast forward. Next scene, we're with Jennifer, the Aidens, and she's talking to her husband about the girls' sleepover at Rachel's, saying that she might have said something about their sex life, talking about milking the prostate. And I was trying to figure out the other week, what does she mean by that? Because, you know, the prostate, you can't really, unless you like tapping something in the inside. But no, like her dumbass really was just saying, oh, she was, doing this. It's too early in the video, I can't say it. But that's not milking the prostate. You're just, we'll move on. Okay, anyway. So then they're talking about guys' night, and Bill said he was invited by Joe, but he told him that he had a surgery to do. Turns out that he lied because Louis just so happens to have a guy night the same evening. Now, I will say Bill lying is weak on his part. He should have just said, oh, well, I already promised Louis I would go, instead of just straight up lying. We found out that the only guys confirmed for Louis' guys' night is Bill and Paulie. So then Jennifer brings up the retreat trip that Fessler and Dolores are trying to plan. Not even sure if they were able to do it, you know, after that rails scene. But she says she has nothing to say to Danielle unless Danielle speaks to her first. She says she's capable of moving on, but she doesn't think that Danielle is capable of moving forward after that. Yeah, I don't see either of these ladies moving forward. Matter of fact, I don't see half the cast moving forward. So either one of them has to go or just get rid of all of them. Next scene with Dolores as she's talking to Fessler on FaceTime. If you pause the scene, she has Jen Fessler in her phone as Jen Siggy's friend. Oh, I haven't heard that name in a minute. Siggy was another one of the biggest disappointing housewives of all the franchises. So it turns out they're trying to do this retreat trip in the Berkshires, and it's a 7-bedroom house with a guest house, and they're thinking like for Teresa to come, she could stay in the guest house with, you know, her minion Jennifer. I don't know, they're saying they want to try to keep it peaceful. Not everybody has to be friends. They just need to remain civil. That's not how housewives work. Like, the ladies are friends at the end of the day, sometimes frenemies. Like, the best thing about watching old school New York was they be going at it, but then they would be back friends like in the same episode. It seems not possible anymore in these franchises. I blame the fans and social media. Dolores says, I'm trying to keep everyone busy so they don't have to think about how much they hate each other. Really? Like, if there's that much hate in the group, cancel the show. At the end of their conversation, both ladies agree that their expectations are very low for this group. Same. Next scene, we have Margaret and Fessler meeting up for lunch. First, Margaret's giving an update on Joe's health, whether he has prostate cancer or not. She says he's fine, but they're still taking the test. They still don't know yet. I think present day, he did have it, but they caught it early. Y'all let me know in the comments for the update. I don't really keep up, you know, with the stories outside of the show. So then Fessler tells her that Teresa contacted her, as well as a few of the other ladies, to come over by her house, and her lawyer's going to be present, and he's going to share findings pertaining to Louis' court case that involved Margaret. So she's trying to expose her to the other ladies. Margaret says in her confessional that Teresa's lawyer has no credibility. In fact, his office is next to a meth lab. To be fair, Teresa's lawyer does look like a snake and one of those ambulance chasing lawyers. And again, even if Margaret contacted Louis' ex or vice versa, Teresa has done the same thing. Louis has done the same thing and had the cast allegedly investigated. So I'm not really sure what's the big deal or revelation here. Now, you know Margaret wants to know who else was invited to this meeting. So Danielle, Jennifer, Dolores, and Jackie. We then cut to the flashback of all the ladies invited by Teresa agreeing to come over, and Margaret feels some type of way about that. She says, how can someone that's friends with me go over to someone else's house where the purpose is to bash me? Now, I get it as a friend like Fessler, like she's not going out of loyalty, But still, I could be friends with Margaret and be like, you know, I just want to hear what Teresa has to say, and then I'm going to come back to you and report what she said. That's what I would do. I still want to know the tea. Child, Margaret gets out her phone and calls Dolores on FaceTime immediately, saying what kind of person brings their lawyer to talk shit about somebody in front of a group of people? Who shows up to that? Dolores is saying she only wants to hear Teresa out. It's not going to change anything she thinks about Margaret. She tries to assure her. But Margaret, she kind of rushes her off the phone, just says she's mad. And then right afterwards, she calls Danielle, who's saying that I didn't know it was about you. She said she just wanted to share some findings in Louis' court case that's been stressing her out, and I just wanted to hear her out on it. Margaret then rushes her off the phone too. She's a little pissed. I mean, it does seem like Teresa's trying to go for a Margaret takedown. I mean, it failed at the end of the day, but Margaret's still hot about it. Also, Teresa fans, before you attack me, I just think it's hypocritical of Teresa trying to accuse Margaret of getting dirt on somebody when she's been doing that since season, 3? 2 with Danielle, 3 with Melissa. I mean, it goes on. Fessler sees how upset Margaret is, and at the table, she texts Teresa that she's not going to make it. Next scene is Joe's guys' night, and my finger will be on the fast forward button because I do not give a fuck about the husbands meeting up with each other. Oh, child, a lot of bro energy, so it's both Joes, Fuda, and Frank. Meanwhile, across town, it's Louis' guys' night, where it's just gonna be him, Paulie the Pig, and Bill. I think it's super lame that he thinks he can carry a scene like Joe Gorga, and then secondly, I think it's lame that he put it on the same night as Joe Gorga's event, because that was very intentional. We see him talking to his dad that's gonna be there too, but just something about Louis, he's just so disingenuous. Like, I'm sure he's a whole different person when the cameras are down. So then we see Teresa walk in, and she's telling Louis' dad about the court case, and it looks like Louis won against his obsessed ex-fiance. She was denied the restraining order. Production posts the article, and it says, Louis Ruelas scores victory in court as ex-fiance is denied restraining order against him after stalking claims. So she sued him for stalking her and wanted a restraining order. This took 6 months, but it stressed Teresa out. And she's blaming this stress not on the ex, but Margaret, because she thinks that Margaret was talking to the ex. Now, before we get to this revelation, it seemed like from the outside looking in that Louis' ex reached out to Margaret after Margaret brought up that Louis been investigating the cast, because isn't that kind of like stalking? I don't know. But I feel like with Margaret, all bets were off when she found out that they were being investigated and her son was called. So she was like, okay, I'm gonna fight fire with fire. So I could see why Margaret did that. And then they said, I think it was in 2021, but Melissa said on Watch What Happens Live that Louis' exes were always reaching out to the cast. Let me know what y'all think, because my fucks are very low. We cut to Teresa's confessional, and she just can't wait to let the ladies know what Margaret did. So we're back at Joe's guys' night, and it seems like Margaret found out about Teresa's gathering the same night as Joe's event. So she's calling her husband, Joe, letting him know what Teresa is doing. He has her on speakerphone, and all the other guys are listening in. So the guys are just saying how much of a train wreck Louis is, and he's trying to find a scapegoat in Margaret. All right, so then they start to drink excessively. Fast forward. We're at Louis' house where the other men are arriving. We're going back and forth between two guys scenes, y'all, on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, because that's just how fractured this group is. Like, the ladies are separated and now the guys are. That's when it's really a problem. So now we're at Louis, and he goes into his man cave where it looks like a recording studio, like they're about to drop some beats. But he then says we're gonna make some devotionals to our wives. It's just giving such weird energy. The guy is a creep. And side note, I hate any scene with him and Teresa trying to hack their shirts or whatever business they have, like Namaste bitches, and now he has something called Transcend. Like, it's just so calculated. So they're filming these devotionals. Oh my God, this is just cringe. Can I fast forward? I think y'all wouldn't mind. I'm fast forwarding through this. We then cut to Joe talking shit about Louis to the other guys, just wondering why is Paulie and Bill like so close to him? They don't see him as a scumbag. And then he says, well, scumbags hang out with other scumbags. So the lines are drawn. Again, we need to recast this show. Oh my God, we're still on the guys' night after the commercial break. So at Joe's house, they're drinking through a bone marrow or whatever. And I think I saw this clip last week where Joe Fuda had like an allergic reaction all of a sudden. I mean, he also just drank like a quarter of that bottle of tequila, it looked like. So the guys are concerned about Joe. Production gets involved. They say they called an ambulance. While they're all huddled in the bathroom and then Melissa's coming in, Joe starts peeing. He really is a fucking caveman. Like, this frat boy behavior to me is just so juvenile. Like, isn't this man 50 years old? The ambulance is there, but Fuda's being like a child right now. Oh, Italians don't need that. I don't need the oxygen. Like, oh my God, I'm annoyed by this scene. He's okay, he's not dead. Fast forward. Okay, so we're done with the guys' night. Louis' guys' night was so fucking lame. I mean, especially compared to Joe's, where something just had to happen. But thankfully, next scene we're with Dolores and Paulie talking. Wait, what? She's telling Paulie that the house in the Berkshires that they were all planning to go to, it burned down? Oh, wow. Production then posts some of the Bravo blogs saying that the cash trip canceled as house they were supposed to stay in burned down. That is something. Like, this season was meant to end early. Dolores feels really discouraged by this because it already took her a long time to find that house. Dolores looks stressed out, and I mean, of course she is because she's playing Switzerland this season. She knows that Margaret's upset that Teresa's having this in the first place, and she says she really don't feel like going to this thing Teresa's saying, but she just wants to hear her out, and anything she says about Margaret in that, she says it's not going to affect her relationship with her. It's not nothing that she don't already know. So then Paulie's telling Dolores about his boring night at Louis and saying that they did devotional videos. They didn't even drink or get drunk, it looked like. Dolores' first reaction, she was just like, oh, that's nice. What's devotional? She knew it was weird. So he did the devotional video, but he don't have it to show to her. So they just wasted our time with that scene. Got it. So next scene, we're at Teresa's house. Louis is there, and all the women are on their way. Well, the women that she invited. So her sleazy lawyer gets there. We see the ladies arriving one by one. Production asks Danielle what does she think she's walking into. She says she has no clue, but she's just really curious to hear this big revelation about Margaret. Every time I see Jack, I just roll my eyes now. Another disappointing housewife. Louis then exits the scene and says he has to get to work. I still want to know, what does he do exactly? Wow, so Gia's really going to be seated for this conversation? Blah, blah, blah. Teresa's so stressed. She's so worried. Okay, I don't give a fuck. She married that scammer. She made her bed. She needs to lay in it. So her lawyer starts to talk, and he says Teresa's more stressed by this case, Louis, that has nothing to do with her, than the time where he walked her into prison. He continues and says that in 2021, Margaret started talking to Louis' ex, and she was getting information. She got subpoenaed by Louis' lawyer. She refused to go to court, but then she has some information on Louis and Teresa that would expose them. So then Teresa interrupts and says, guys, it's gonna make your head spin. Like, then the production, the music orchestra is going crazy, and then we get the commercial break. Teresa continues and says, well, Louis, he's not allowed to speak about her, and she's not allowed to speak about him, so it's Margaret speaking to the ex. Like, the other ladies are like, okay. The music then flails, and it just kind of signifies that this wasn't really shocking whatsoever. Like, production should have just put in a womp womp womp. We cut to Dolores' confessional. She's like, this isn't a jaw-dropping revelation. She then says that Teresa's been talking about this for 3 years, and then production shows us a flashback from 2021 of Margaret and Teresa going at it, and Teresa accusing her of talking to people in Louis' past. I guess the big thing is that Margaret always denies speaking to Louis' ex, so Teresa's like, oh, I got proof now. Let's just get to the last episode, y'all. I can't wait. We cut to Teresa's confessional, and she's saying that these private videos of Louis and his ex were leaking, and they were figuring out how. And she's saying Margaret is the one, I guess, behind the leak. But Teresa, you and Jen were working with other bloggers to try to sabotage members of the cast. So your hands are dirty too. Like, y'all both are wrong. We cut to Danielle's confessional, and she points out the hypocrisy on Teresa and Jennifer's part. They literally hit up Margaret's ex-best friend and tried to get information out of her to expose Margaret. They're doing the exact same thing they're accusing Margaret of doing. So we're just getting mad at people fighting fire with fire. So while they're in the middle of talking, the buzzer goes off at Teresa's door, and it's someone delivering like funeral flowers to her doorstep. Everyone's a little confused, and they do a close-up of the card. Margaret sent those flowers to Teresa, and it says, "Dear Teresa and James, her lawyer, sorry for the loss of your dignity. Love, 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 Marge." I mean, petty. So petty. I love it. I love it. Teresa then refuses the flowers and tells the man that she could stick it up her ass. This is the equivalent of on Miami when Nicole uninvited Larsa to her party. Just as petty. We cut to Danielle's confessional, and she is ranting and raving about Marge's pettiness. She's like, keep it together. I'm trying to keep it together at the table. Teresa tries to save face and says, oh, Margaret's just worried that she's been caught. She's spinning now. So the lawyer leaves, and then Danielle asks, how the fuck are we gonna go on this trip? And then Dolores gives them the news that the house they were all supposed to stay in burned down to the ground. It does look like a sign to all of the ladies that this trip was not supposed to happen. Teresa, dumbass, she's like, oh, that's an ohm. That's an ohm. So the credits are rolling, and Dolores' plan B is just to get all the ladies together for like a private dinner at Rails, so everyone can just talk out their differences. Just say what you want to say, have some closure. And yeah, it looks like all the ladies agreed to do it. Dolores then says everyone can say what they have to say peacefully, and she keeps emphasizing the word peaceful. And we know that anything but that is gonna happen. And that is where the episode ends. Afterward, we get a little glimpse of the season finale, and it does look explosive. I'm looking forward to it. As far as the episode, a bit of a letdown, just like the shocking revelation that Teresa had. I would love to know whose side y'all on, and are you shocked or do you care that Margaret was speaking to the ex in any capacity when Teresa was doing the same behavior? Let me know. And with that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see y'all for the season finale. Bye.